Coach Harrell.
So Graham, start with your offense. How much different is it than what West Virginia's done in the past, and is the installation going to be difficult this spring?
I think if you trace Coach Brown and I back far enough, we come from similar trees. So, obviously I think that's an advantage when you're teaching because there's some at least familiarity with what I know, what they know, and so we can kind of speak the same language a little bit, which will be really nice for us. I think that everyone that's kind of stemmed from I guess if you go back far enough, the Hal Mumby guys and everyone that stemmed from there has tried to put their own twist on it. So we'll look a little bit different, but I do think that there's some common things in it, and with communication and teaching, that obviously helps. The operations will look a little bit different at times, and I think that that's what we try to focus on as much as we can right now is just the operation of getting lined up, getting the ball snapped, seeing signals. We'll signal different. We'll do things like that a little bit different, and so I think that's going to be probably a bigger learning curve than like the actual X's and O's, because I do think there's going to be some, they're going to have at least a background knowledge of what we're doing, and so we can I think that'll speed up the on-field learning. The operational part is the part that takes a little time, and we're trying to teach right now. Obviously, it probably won't be perfect day one, but we're going to get there.
I'm curious, obviously, Mummy, Leach, but being a coach's kid, how much of your dad's spread offense does that play into your mindset at all?
My dad obviously played a huge role in my life and my coaching career and everything. What we did in high school, we still, I guess you can kind of trace it. You can kind of see it in what we do here. And he's obviously very different than Coach Leach from a coaching standpoint, or from the type of coach he is, I guess. But especially when I was there, if you look at what we did in high school and look at what we did in college, there's a whole lot that's alike, and so I think that was one of the reasons that I was able to have success at Texas Tech, was because I had a good feel for what we were doing, and it was we call it different. We did a few different things, but at the end of the day, it was similar for me, and philosophically, I think it was very similar, and I think that's what anyone that's worked for Coach Leach. My dad kind of had a similar philosophy. I feel like when I played for him, I think there's more of a philosophy behind what we do than necessarily a schematic. You can look at everyone that's come from Coach Leach, that whether it be me, Cliff, Lincoln, Dana. You can go down the whole list. Sonny Dykes, a lot of guys that have come from the same tree. And if you go look at them, you turn on the tape and say none of them are the same offense. But I do think there's a philosophy that comes with it of, hey, we can't be great at everything, but let's figure out what we can be good at and be really, really good at it. And so I think that's what Leach does at a really high level. And I think that people that come from him, more than necessarily looking exactly like him schematically, I think that they've brought we all kind of have that philosophy of, hey, let's identify what we're going to be good at and go be good at it. And we just don't have time to be good at everything. There's not enough time in the day to practice it all. There's a lot of great football plays out there, but you just can't be good at all of them. But you can be good at a handful of them. So let's identify what that is, dress it up, make it look different for a defense, make it look complicated for a defense, but as simple as possible for our kids, and let them go out there and not hesitate, play fast, and give them a chance to be successful. And I think that's what Leach has done at a high level. I think that's what my dad did throughout my high school career, and I've always had success doing that. I think most people that have done that moving forward have had a lot of success, and I don't really think it matters what level you're at. The places, even in the NFL, where there's been a same coach and same quarterback, usually have success because those people know what they're doing, and they're familiar with the offense, and they do it at a high level. And so doing it in college is no different. But my dad, like I said, I think schematically it's similar to what we've always done. Philosophically, it's definitely similar, and I think more than anything, just the way my dad coaches has probably had a bigger influence on me than necessarily any schematics. That taking what I think he does really well and try to do it myself.
I think from a teaching perspective, and particularly teaching them the terminology and the things that you want, what you want them to call it, having these young quarterbacks is probably helpful because they've not been in the system for 4 years, learning and calling it a certain way. Is that how you view it?
Yeah.
They may call it something completely foreign than what you want. But
Yeah, no, I'm excited about having these guys, and like you said, you can kind of mold them the way you want them. We're going to do a lot of teaching. There's going to be a lot of things that, some things will be new. I think that quarterback play is obviously important at any level of football anymore. You know, it doesn't matter if you're high school, college, pros. If you have good quarterback play, you got a chance to win a lot of games, and if you don't, it's going to be really hard. And so, you know, I do think that having young guys is fun because, like I said, you kind of mold them the way you want them to mold them. You can ingrain things in them that you're not necessarily breaking 4-year habits. You're just breaking 1 or 2-year habits. But at the same time, you can't replace experience either. You know what I mean? And so experience helps. Game experience is the most important kind of experience, but we'll do the best we can to make up for it this spring, and we'll get a ton of reps. And like I said, those guys, it's important they do things right all the time, you know. And it doesn't matter if it's on the field or off the field, but on the field, like I said, there's going to be a process, and hopefully they get better and better every day. But it will be fun because, like you said, that you're not breaking habits that are engraved in them for a long time. I think you have a chance to go in there and kind of turn them into what you want them to be. And it should be a fun spring watching all 3 of them or all those guys kind of get reps and develop and see what their skill set is and see where they are.
One last thing here. You know, the quarterback position is a natural leadership position. And I know all 3 of these guys have leadership qualities, but you have to kind of, I guess, advise them on, you know, because sometimes young guys aren't going to be able to tell an older guy what to do. So there's kind of a tricky thing there. How do you approach that with these guys?
You know, and I tell them this all the time, and being the leader is part of I mean, it's part of being quarterback, whether you like it or not. And you've got to have the courage to speak up. And obviously on-field production helps with that. It gives you immediate credibility. But being the quarterback also gives you credibility. And so whether you like it or not, the people are looking at you. And when you step on the field, everyone on the field is looking at you. And we go over that. You know, the other thing that I think is also really important is whatever we identify as our culture, whoever we say we're going to be, those guys better embody it. And if they don't, you're in trouble as a football team. You know what I mean? If those quarterbacks, if they don't embody your culture, if they don't embody who you are as a football team or what you want to be as a football team or what you're preaching as a coaching staff, you're in a lot of trouble because everyone's looking at them, and if they don't embody it, no one will. And so that's part of being a leader too. Is you know, you're held to a higher standard. You're expected to do things right, be where you're supposed to be, work harder than anyone else on that football team, and that's the standard that we're going to hold them to. And we've gone over that. I think those guys have done a great job of it. Like you said, they're young, but they've done a really good job, I think, of doing the best they can to lead that unit. And I do think that they all 3 have personalities that you're drawn to, and that's something you look for in a quarterback. I think that's really important, is someone that other people are drawn to, that influence other people. And you know, to me, the best quarterback is the guy that can make the players around him better. And that doesn't necessarily mean the most talented guy, but there's someone, when they step foot on the football field, everyone else, the level of play rises because that person's out there, and that's the quarterback. And that's part of being a leader. That's part of, you know, I think you got to do things right all the time. You got to carry yourself the right way. You got to have a presence. And so all those things play into it. It's something we discuss, you know, I mean, in quarterback meetings a lot. It's something I expect out of our guys. And like I said, you know, they're young. It's not always easy to, you know, hold your teammates accountable or step up and speak when something needs to be said because you are younger than some of the guys, but you're also the quarterback, so you don't really have a chance. I mean, you don't have a choice. Like, you better do it or we're in trouble.
One more here. You know, your 3 quarterbacks aren't clones. You've got a left-hander, you've got a right-hander, you've got a short guy. How do you work all that, sift through all that?
Yeah, they all. I do think at the quarterback position you can't create robots. I think that the quarterback position may be the most overcoached position in all of sports because everyone wants them to all look the exact same. But if we all go out there and start running, none of us look the exact same. You know what I mean? And so I don't think that the same thing with quarterbacks. I don't think you can create robots. I think you guys got to take what they have and make them the best versions of themselves. And that's what I tell them all the time is, like, I'm going to try to make you the best version of you. And that's my job. And like I said, it may not look the exact same. That's okay. But you got to be the best version of you and the most efficient version of you. I think that footwork's extremely important. That's something that they can all do pretty similar. It'll look a little bit different, I think, just because they all move a little different. But from a timing standpoint, stuff like that, that's an easy example of, hey, we're going to do this really well. We're going to do it at a high level. This is what I expect you to do. Like I said, it may not look the exact same because they may move a little different, but the ball better come out in the same timing. You know what I mean? And so there's stuff like that play to their talents, put them in a position to be successful, give them the tools they need to be the most efficient versions of themselves, and let them go play. And I think that's the best chance you have for those guys to all play at a high level.
What do you hope that your presence can bring this offense that maybe it lacked last year?
I obviously wasn't around last year, so I don't know exactly what I was lacking, but I think that what I think these guys need, and from the little time I've been here, is one, let's not forget to have fun, and I think that that's something that at times the higher up you go, the more you realize like it feels more and more like a business, but we're playing a little kids game, and I know that winning's obviously important, and there's a lot of things that are important and that can feel like business, but at the end of the day, we get to go play a little kids game, you know what I mean? And so let's not lose the fun in that, let's not lose the joy in that, and so that's something that I've preached to them, and then create confidence, and I always expect to score, and I expect the same out of our guys when they take the field. I expect to score, no matter what's going on, no matter how bad you're up, no matter how bad you're down, no matter what's happened up to that point in the game. If we set foot on the field, the expectation is to go score, and I think that part of that's, like I said, just a mentality, a confidence, and I think you got to be loose, you got to have fun, you can't have them overthinking, and part of that's kind of like what we talked about schematically. What we're going to do is identify what we can do at a high level and go do it at a high level, and make them believe that every time we go out there, we're going to play at a high level, because that's what we do. And so, that's what I think that this spring is going to be important for us. What I talked to you guys about, let's go have fun and expect to go do great things.
I'm guessing that your first step.
But you're going L.A., Morgantown, West Virginia. I know you were in Texas Tech, but I mean, how different is your life going to be from L.A. to here?
I went back in time a little bit, I think, but no, it was. It's going to be different, and it's already been different, but it feels a lot more like home. I'm from small town Texas, and we had a lot of fun in LA, and there's some things to do out there that are pretty fun. But this feels a lot more like home, a lot more like what I grew up in, and what I'd like to raise a family in. And so it's been great being here, and you can tell in just a short time you're here, there's good people around, much more grounded people. I think the relationships here are real and sincere, and the fans here love football, and that's been obvious ever since I accepted this job, and that's something that's kind of refreshing, and like I said, again, kind of feels more like home than necessarily where we've been. Is people that are excited about football, that love football, and are avid about Mountain Hair football, and so it's been fun being here. Excited to get to play in front of a lot of fans out there in that stadium come this fall. And like I said, that just the culture of the city is a lot more what I'm used to. To be honest with you, it's more my pace. So, my commute will be a lot shorter, and there's a lot of good things that come with coming to a town this size, I think.
Curious your thoughts on the Big 12. When you were in this league, it was an offensive league. Now you look at this league, and it is more so defensively. What are your thoughts of the league and how it's transitioned from that to when you played to what it is now?
Yeah, it's crazy that, kind of like you said, I think that when I was here, if you weren't scoring 40, 50 points, you didn't have a chance to win. And now if you score 28, you got a great chance to win, And so obviously I think, like everything, like football and conferences, I think they go in cycles, and we played up pace, scored a lot of points, and when I was playing, and now, like I said, it's a really good defensive football league, and so the league's changed. I think that that'll be a challenge in some of the stuff they've done here. It's not what I was seeing when I played in the league necessarily, but it's been a long time since I played in this league, so you would expect it to change over time. But excited to get in it, and like I said, it's a league. I know a lot about the places and stuff like that. It's just different people and different schemes since I was here, and so it's exciting. Like I said, I'm glad to be back in the league because it's kind of like, what I mean? It's what I know. It's kind of my footprint, where I'm from, and what I played in, and so I'm excited to be back in it.
You looking forward to get tortillas thrown at you?
Yeah, we'll see. Lubbock's an interesting place, but it'll be fun to go back.
I'm guessing that the first thing that you have to do in figuring out what your team can do well, individual abilities of your players, everyone across the offense, how are you doing that right now what do you lean on the most? On-field, film study, talking to guys in the room? How do you develop that?
I think a little bit of all of that. I think that going and watching, we've got to see them work out quite a bit, and that's been awesome. And I think with that, you kind of identify personalities and leaders and stuff like that. And one thing that I'm excited about is I do think this team is, and I don't know what it was in the past, but it seems like a pretty close team that cares about each other, does things right. Not a lot of egos in it, and I think a lot of that has to do with the offensive line, and that the offensive line kind of seems to be a unit, and there's some individuals on there that do a great job of leading, but it's a unit that guys kind of they can kind of lead this whole team. And so I think that if you're great up front, you got a chance to be successful, and that's on either side of the football. And so having an offensive line gives you a chance to do things in the run game and the pass game and be really good at it. And so I think that's a unit we can build around. But, I've watched a little bit of film on some of the guys we've had, each one individually. We've had cut-ups kind of everyone coming back, who we have, and what they did well, what they did poorly last season. But I think it's also important to give everyone a fresh start. And sometimes, a change of scenery or a new voice or just something just a little bit different can make a big influence. It can be really influential on a kid and change them a lot. And so, like I said, I've seen a little bit of tape on them, been around them down in the weight room, and you see them down there. But I think when we hit the field for spring ball, practice one, I think everyone gets a clean slate, and hopefully that's good for some people, and some people just stay on the trajectory they were going on, and we all play at a higher level. That's the goal.
You mentioned about going through installing your offense and things like that. A lot of times when you talk to new coaches, they say first year, really a lot about getting them familiar. Second year is when it can take off. Do you limit yourself in that way, or are you saying, hey, I expect to be able to take off at some point?
Well, like I said, we always expect to score. If we're on the field, we want to score, and that's the mentality. It's never going to change. And so, I think the longer you're in a system, I think things get easier, but that doesn't mean you can't be good in year one. And we expect to be good in year one. And I do think that because there's enough similar things between what they were doing and what we were doing, hopefully the transition's a lot easier, a lot smoother. Things happen a lot quicker. But, at SC, we had a lot of success in year one offensively. And I think that it can be the same way here. I think we have a lot of pieces coming back that have played a lot of football to give you a chance to be successful. And then we have some holes we got to fill and figure out who can do it. And if we get the right guys in there, I don't think there's any reason we can't be successful now. And that's going to be, like I said, everywhere I go, confidence is something that goes a long ways. And so we got to create some confidence and go out there with the mentality to score. And that's what we expect to do always, year one or year 10.
Hey, Graham, Neil said that your recruiting is going to be mastering in quarterbacks. That's a great phrase, I guess. But what's your curriculum? I guess what are you looking for? Is height, build, speed, release? Where do you start?
Yeah. I think the most important thing with the quarterback, from a physical attribute, you got to be able to hit what you're trying to hit, and if you can't, you're in trouble. You know what I mean? So you got to be accurate with the football. The build and stuff isn't as big to me. At North Texas, I had a quarterback that I think that could have played anywhere in the country, Mason Fine, and if he walked in, the first time I took his commitment without ever seeing him. And I remember the first time he walked in the room, I was hoping that wasn't him, because you see him and he's like 155 pounds, 5'10". And I'm like, man, I messed up. If I take this guy back to coach the trail, he's going to fire me. And he ended up playing as a true freshman, one of the best players I've ever been around. And so he kind of changed my perspective on build necessarily. I don't think that there's an exact build you're looking for. I think accuracy is obviously very important. I think it's harder to find nowadays the guys that have natural throwing motions, but I think throwing the football, there's certain guys that are natural throwers of the football. That's important. And then once you kind of identify guys that kind of fit the mold, I think you really have to dig into character. And I think that's important in any position, but most important at the quarterback position, because like we've talked about earlier, if that guy doesn't embody who you are as a football team, you're in a lot of trouble. And so I think that, kind of also, like I said earlier, he has to make the people around him better. And so I think that from a film evaluation, it's important, and they gotta have the physical tools to be good. But once you identify that, then you really have to start digging into them as people and figuring out, do they fit us as a football team? Do they fit our culture? Do they fit what we expect to be as an offense? Can they make the people around them better? Do people rally around them? And I think that through recruiting, going to the school or going to watch them practice, if you can't figure out who the quarterback is pretty quick, he doesn't fit that, you know. And so there's a lot of pieces that go into it. Like I said, if you just want like easy measurables or easy like physical traits, I want natural passers, guys with natural motions, guys that can hit what they're trying to hit. I think that like arm strength, for instance, is like it's either good enough or it's not. But once it hits like it's good enough, then, you know, extra arm strength is helpful, but that's not. I think that can be overrated at times. Accuracy, natural throwers, and then do they have the intangibles that it takes to make a great football team?
What's your approach on getting younger, inexperienced quarterbacks ready to go? Because obviously you've had a lot of success with that.
Yeah, I've had to play 2 true freshmen actually, and you know, I think with that reps help, but just spending time with them, you know, and you know, I think Keaton Slovis, the reason he was able to have as much success as he had as a true freshman is because he did exactly what he was coached to do. And you know, you're kind of able to mold him. Like with his feet, he was unbelievable. You know, with his reads, he was extremely disciplined. And so stuff like that, if they'll do exactly what you ask them to do, and they have the ability to do it, then I don't think age is as important, you know. And so, like I said earlier, you can't replace experience. Game experience really helps. The more game reps they have, the more things they've seen, the better they are. That's why, you know, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers are older guys and maybe physically aren't what Aaron's still pretty, or they're both pretty physically impressive still. But, you know, guys that have, you know, mentally they're just so much quicker than everyone else. And so experience helps, but with young guys, you can mold them. And if they'll do it the way you ask them to do it, and can be extremely disciplined in what they're doing, with their footwork, with their reads, with their progressions, whatever the case may be, with their checks, then young guys can have a lot of success in what we do. And a lot of that has to do with spending time with them, and they got to see the game the way you see it. And you can't do that without spending time together. And so meeting with them, watching tape with them, stuff like that, obviously helps. Going into a spring, you know, not having one guy that's kind of going to get the bulk of the reps will also help, because they'll all get a ton of reps. And that'll be the best way to create experience for them. And so I think that all those things play a factor. Experience, you know, obviously you'd love to have a guy that's played for a long time, but it doesn't mean young guys can't have success in what we do.
You talked about everything here for quite a while, but running game never came up. I mean, does that say more about us or about you?
I thank you. No, that's the first thing that the first question has been asking. You know, if you look at our numbers over the past, like, we've been pretty balanced, and everyone, we get tagged the air raid because I played for Mike Leach and I coached for Mike Leach. But like I said earlier, like, everyone that's come from that tree has all put their own twist on what people are doing. And so, you know, I think run game is extremely important. I think that you have to be able to run the football. Like, to win at a really, really high level, you got to be able to run the football. And, you know, our first couple of years at North Texas, we were really good at running the football because we had a really good running back, and that helps. But we were pretty young, and it took some pressure off of a young quarterback. And so I think that running the football is a mentality. Like we talked about earlier, we have an offensive line that's very experienced, that works really hard, that hold each other accountable, that may be the best unit on the football team, a unit that can lead the entire football team. And so when you have a unit like that has a lot of experienced guys and physical guys up there, I think you could be really good at running the football. And we're going to expect to be good. We're going to expect to be extremely efficient running the football. And you know, there's probably going to be games where we got to throw it more, and there's going to be games we have to run it more. But whatever we ask them to do, I think when we do have to run the ball, we got to be efficient at it. And I think last year, you know, at SC, again, we ran the ball pretty efficiently. And that's going to be key for us. And like I said, exactly, like, I don't go in saying I try to be 50-50 or 70-30 or anything like that. It's, hey, whatever gives us the best chance to win, that's what we're going to do. And if that means running the football every down, we'll run it every down. If that means throwing it every down, we'll throw it every down. But whatever gives us the best chance to win, that's what we're going to try to do. And we're going to try to do whichever one it is at a really high level. But I think, like I said, we have a team built to be able to run the football really efficiently, and so that should help.
Is there something that you take from your personal experience as a quarterback that you said, if I ever get into coaching, I'm going to teach my guys this? Or was there a drill or something, conversely, where you said, man, this is really dumb, I'm never going to do that?
You can get on Twitter and find a lot of dumb drills, I think. But from a player standpoint, I do think, you know, probably my time at Green Bay, one of the things I think that was the most beneficial for me is seeing how detailed those guys, or especially Aaron, but also the coaches, were with their drops, you know, and just how important that is. with football. And the other thing that Aaron did an incredible job of that I kind of took from there was he was able to manipulate the timing of his drop. And so just because, a 3-step drop isn't always the same. You know what I'm saying? I think there's different, you can take a quick 3 or you can take a big 3. And I try to differentiate that. And, I think that I saw that more with him than anywhere else because he spent a ton of time in practice. Anytime we had individuals, a lot of times he had receivers and in any route that he wanted to work on, he wanted to make sure that route and his feet timed up the same. And so, and normally that's not like the primary read of the play, obviously. That's not going to be like some third read. But whatever the individual route was, especially if that was the primary, the number 1 read, then his drop needed to match that route. The timing needed to be the same. And he spent a ton of time working on that. And so since I've gotten to coaching, even when I was at Washington State and I was technically the receiver coach, Coach Leach had me work with the quarterback sometimes on the field. That was something that I took from there that I thought was really good was, one, being really disciplined with your drop. And I think that giving the quarterback a plan before the ball snapped is extremely important because if you can get all the 10 other guys to do the right thing, like you get good protection, you get a guy open on the route, like the play can't go bad because the quarterback just didn't do his job because he didn't hit what he was supposed to hit, and especially because he took bad footwork, And so that's what I tell my guys all the time. If we protect you, if we get a route open, whatever the case may be, the play can't go bad because we just flat out missed him or because we were undisciplined with our drop. And so, like I said, that's something that while I was playing, I took that especially from him was, one, it's important for your feet to time up with the route, at least the kind of your first read there, but also being able to manipulate kind of your steps to do that, and so, like with our drops, we have a quick game drop, and that should all be the same. And then we have within our 3-step, we have a quick 3, which is different from a big 3 because, routes time up differently. And sometimes we'll take a quick 3 and a reset. Sometimes we'll take a big 3 and a hitch, whatever the case may be. But being able to manipulate your drop to fit the route, I think is extremely important. It's something, like I said, that I saw at Green Bay that I had never really seen. And I think that was something while I was there that I thought benefited me a lot. But I also thought, hey, moving forward, when I get into coaching, that's something that I can teach that gives those guys just a little bit of an advantage.
Okay. Thank you very much, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.